To bring in our next guest, retired NYPD Chief of Department John Chell, holding 32 years of experience dealing with gangs, narcotics, crisis management in all areas of law enforcement. John, good to have you. Seems like these videos, the first one very emotional, the second one a little bit more transactional. But the problem is that we have ransom deadlines, one set for Monday. No way of the family being able to contact whomever is out there. Tell us how you think they should proceed, also knowing the FBI is not telling them what to do when it comes to actually paying any ransoms.
Well, obviously they're coordinating with the FBI as to what to say, and they're trying to reach out of desperation. It's truly heartbreaking, and they're at the mercy of waiting for communications from the would-be kidnapper or kidnappers. That's a very desperate place to be, and time is of the essence. We have an 80-year-old grandma out there who needs medication. We don't know where she's being housed, if you will. So that's very desperate. On the other side, you have the FBI and local law enforcement turning over every stone they possibly can. You know, there's a task force set up. There's a marshaling of the evidence. You know, who's doing the video canvas, who's got the phones, who's doing the grid search, who's handling the tip line. And like just every tip that comes in has to be vetted out to the max. This is a very desperate and obviously dangerous situation.
And John, you talk about the cameras, you know, the timeline of events is raising some questions. A doorbell camera disconnected, 1:50 a.m., missing. 2:12 a.m., motion from a person detected, but there's no available video. Of course, concerns about her health. We know it. 2:30 a.m., the pacemaker was disconnected. Doesn't mean it's not working, but obviously no way of knowing her status there. How far and wide do you also think they're looking at a potential cell phone towers, digital footprint of other people, communication in the area, maybe connected to any cameras, John?
So, Bianca, great point. You also got to take into consideration the pre-event activity. Who's checking 911 calls pre that night? Suspicious people. Now, when the camera goes off and the pacemaker, you have an advantage here. You have a very tight window where the perpetrators were. And to your point, I know the FBI is doing it. They're going to dump those cell towers to see what phones were active in that area. And you know the time frame. So as you expand your video canvas, is there a red light camera? Is there a 7-Eleven camera? I'm just making it up. They have a tight window to play with, and there's a disadvantage to being a very desolate area, but there's also an advantage because when you see something, you'll see it and you'll key on it, so that you can go both ways to that. But time is of the essence, but they also got to be very methodical as to not miss anything. And that's the dilemma they're up against with time not being on their side.
Yeah, well, on their side is any help they need from the feds. We know Attorney General Pam Bondi talked about that today. The FBI working with the local officials. There's a $50,000 reward. I believe it was $2,500 in the first day. So that's much more money. Looking for tips. There's this report, John, from some media outlets. Nancy's neighbor spotted a white van parked in the area days before she went missing. So when you look at something like that, that could be a potential lead or it could be a dead end. Obviously, that is a frustration as each day goes by. What would you look at in the upcoming days ahead of the Monday deadline for ransom?
Well, I would be focusing on what I just said in terms of what everyone's job is, those tips that come in. And when you go back to that van, if that's the only lead you have of some sort of substance, you have to pretend like that's the van until it's not the van. Now, if you remember Louis Mangione, Brown University, it came down to video canvas, see something, say something, get the picture out. Someone in McDonald's points out Louis Mangione. And in Brown University, a good video canvas, a witness canvas, and technology vis-a-vis a license plate reader. So they got to keep going, expanding out.
Yeah. I want to get your take, too, since we have not, according to the family, they have not heard from whomever is out there who did this. I don't know, whoever did this, maybe not working alone. You know, there's been reports this is hard to pull off a kidnapping solo. The fact that now they're saying we're willing to talk, in a way, the strategy for our investigators, what is your thought? Because they may say, oh, man, they're getting close. I'm going to be caught. And that